Hello, everyone! Welcome to another episode of 10 Forward Weekly. My name is Mike Fainham. I am your community manager, also known as Ambassador Kel. And once again, I am joined by our executive producer, Mr. Andre Emerson.
Hello.
Hello. How are you doing today?
I am doing fantastic. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good.
How's everybody else doing?
I'm excited to get you back on the show. It's
All
been, since the last roadmap, so we will pepper you with questions. Nothing will... No, we're going to look at some fan art. How about we do that?
Very nice.
Yeah, this is cool. Oh, this is, I think Thomas made this ages ago. It's Earth Space Dock from Above.
Yeah.
All right, so first up, from Zion Sears, we got this picture called Don't Touch the Cat. It took me a second to find the cat. It's right there.
Very cool.
And then they sent us this shot called There Are Four Lights, because,
Very
four
nice.
cells. Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. And then Sean Wurgis sent us a couple of kit bashes they made with the brand new Centaur class.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a kit bash Miranda parts. I really like how this one looks, actually.
Yeah,
that's a
beautiful.
really sweet ship. And then this lovely pile of 3D printed ships they have.
Very nice.
Yeah. And then we
Turned out well.
yeah. And we have a resident landscape photographer, Nuno Espadina, who sent us this lovely shot of, I don't know what map this is. Someone in chat tell me what map this is. Nope, someone in Facebook chat wrote STO for life. Same to you, brother. Too
Thank
sweet. They also sent us this awesome shot.
Yeah, I want to do that.
Yeah, that's great. And this nice shot of the original bridge.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe this is Fluidic Space, and that looks awesome too.
Very cool.
Thank you, Nuno. And then finally we have superstar artist Morishita, who I've told you about before. I think I showed you her Victory's Life shots. That's her making the Gagarin
man.
look friggin' amazing.
Come on.
I know, right? So good. I want to hang out with this person wherever they are. It's like
That's
Star Trek
the,
meets Shadowrun.
That's the new Terran jacket.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got a funny screenshot of with that for the First Contact Day reward, which we haven't talked about yet. But I took a fun screenshot actually on this map with that jacket, just not with that character. And then here's the Giorgio, looking
Wow.
friggin' beautiful. What
Looks like-
map is that?
Looks like film.
I know, right? So good,
My lord, that looks gorgeous.
right? And then she sent us her warcation, I think. Actually, no, that's a Farad. I'm going to pronounce it wrong. Wow. Farashin? This is the Klingon one, I think.
You see these shots, and it just makes you want to step up your game. And
Right?
I mean, it's just beautiful.
Yeah, I know she spends hours on these things every time. All right, well, shall we get to the reason why you're here?
Yeah, let's jump in.
All right. So we released a new roadmap this week, which I was excited to get out there. It's the first update we've done to the roadmap since the last one we released in the fall, I think,
Yeah.
somewhere around there. Sort of a preview of what's coming down the line. First up is March, which we're already into, but you can see our big mirror crossfield. I can speak words, I promise. Sitting here in space. Did you get a chance to fly her yet?
Not live.
Oh, yeah.
But I've seen behind the curtain.
Yeah, she's fun.
Yeah,
I was
it's
flying her
beautiful.
with Jet the other night. Jet comes on stream and does her Jet thing and builds these, gold everything, like super kitted out, all the rep versions of the ships. So normally I'm okay at this game, and then I start flying her ships, and I'm like, oh, just everything dies in one hit. Okay, great.
You can't even use all the powers.
Yeah.
Everything's dead.
Yeah. You want to talk a little bit about Peril over Pavo? I know we had a chat about this morning, and I wanted to say a little bit of the disappointment on that, I think, was my bad. I got it miscommunicated that we wanted to be upfront about the fact that it was a reimagining of Drowner Gauntlet, and I think that didn't get as upfront as we would have wanted it to be.
Well, I mean, I think that's exactly right. I mean, we're doing these things as you could probably tell. We're doing these in a few different flavors now. We're doing brand new TFOs. We're doing reimaginings or remasterings, like in the case of Gorn Minefield, which became Romulan Minefield.
Yeah.
This one was a case where, full transparency, we wanted there to be more support content for the reps and Discovery era stuff in general. So We weren't trying to hide that this was a facelift of sorts on Draenor Gauntlet.
Yeah.
Obviously, the reps attached to Draenor Gauntlet are different, so we wanted to do something that was something that'd be fun, something that would allow the team to focus on our huge endeavors that we're building right now, and get something out there and get a nice reward attached to it.
Yeah, and I think it's, you mentioned a little bit about reputations this might build for. Maybe we'll talk about that later. But I think it's also, even though it's kind of the same thing, like you said, it's got new rewards. It's got it's a new event to play through as the months go on.
Yeah, I mean it's been discovery-fied, and we've talked about when after the featured run is over, whether or not this is going to slot into the master list. It probably will, and retain the appropriate marks that go with it. But ultimately, it's like we weren't trying to hide anything. This was like we weren't sort of saying, well, let's just do Draenor and make it look like Discovery and hope that people don't notice.
Yeah.
We're not backing away from that. It is a light Discovery treatment on top of a piece of content that we've had some good feedback on, so we wanted to take this chance to sort of clean it up. Now, it's you have to think about the fact that we are building an expansion over time.
Right.
And when you think about Victory is Life, the sheer number of of missions and the queues and with the battle zone.
Yeah.
All of that was dropped within with the
month.
exception of the finale episode. All of that stuff was just dropped right on everybody from day one. Building this out over time presents challenges. You want to make sure that new players, you want to make sure players that as we roll out the reps for Discovery, they have a fair amount of content to play with it. So, we won't do this routinely. It might end up being kind of a one-off. Like we will, and we absolutely intend to remaster existing TFOs moving forward.
But when we say remaster, it really is a full facelift as opposed to the light Discovery dusting we did this time.
Yeah, like it will be whatever, we're going to take a look at things we feel really excited about it. We're going to ask the community which ones have you loved the most. Yeah. Which ones do you think are maybe this far or this far away from being way better. Yeah. And we'll prioritize in that order. Now, an improvement to one may look very different than an improvement to another. We may have one may require a lot of balancing. Some may require art fidelity cleanup. Some may just not have all the TLC that you'd like to see go into a featured TFO. So, don't think of featured TFO as being always necessarily just a new thing that's relevant to the season we're working on, or Discovery in general. Think of it as something that we've taken some TLC and added great rewards to, and made it, so many people now are playing with the random system, and you want to get randomed into things that you like and things that perform well and look good. And so we are looking to build over time. We're looking to take all the TFOs and try to build them to qualitative parity.
That's cool. Do you have, if you had to pick one off the top of your head, what queue would you be the most excited about redoing?
That's a good one. I really like the ones that, like for sense of scale and parallax, I like a lot of the ones that have interiors or pseudo interiors.
Oh yeah.
Like Herald Sphere. I think maybe I would mess around with that one, but obviously I'm not going to executive decision on this. It's going to be, we'll see what players want us to do. We'll look at sort of the low-hanging fruit, because we don't want to take on necessarily one that requires many weeks of work when we might be able to get more in front of players with less effort.
Sure.
So
I want to move this mic a little bit closer to you.
But I'd like to take some of the ones with an interior vibe to them, because I think it gives a really unique sense of scale.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, that's March. Why don't we take a look at what's coming up next? All right, so April. First of all, we've got this lovely teaser image of this this ship that might mean something for Star Trek's future in a little bit. You
We'll
never
see.
know.
We'll see.
But the big thing coming up next month is Operation Riposte, not Riposte. Zeph, I saw your video. Do you want to talk a little bit about what that is and what that means?
Well, I mean, it's like this is a bridge to season 17. You know, we're going to be, you know, season 17 is going to, you know, we're going to talk about the, you know, Commander Landry.
Season 17 being Rise of Discovery.
Yes, Rise of Discovery. I'm sorry, like
No, it's internal and external names. I know it
external.
hurts.
But Rise of Discovery will feature Rekha Sharma and perhaps others to be announced. And you know,
We're just gonna keep teasing that one until they go nuts.
This is a precursor to that story, and we don't want to give away too much here with spoilers. But I can tell you that you know, we're working on this event as we speak, quite literally, and we'll have very cool rewards for this. And what I think is super interesting is this will be, you know, we're making every effort for this to be the first featured TFO that kicks off a much larger meta event. And ultimately, how this is intended to work, and we're still ironing out some details, is your progression, your play in featured TFOs will accrue, you know, we don't have a name for it yet, but let's call them ship tokens. And when you accrue the requisite amount, you'll be able, for the first time ever in STO, you'll be able to receive a coupon for a choice of any Zen Store ship.
Yeah.
So anything from C-Store. And so we're going to see how people respond to that. I think we're really excited about it because a lot of those ships, you know, for players who may have, you know, more time than they have money, or just don't have the budget for those kind of ships, you know, we constantly look for ways to kind of make these things available. And I think this will be, to my knowledge, the first way that, you know, short of going to the C-Store and making a purchase, you'll be able to pick some of your favorite ships that maybe you never got your hands on.
So go ahead. Do you see that as being like, is it you know, you complete like 2 or 3 TFO events and you get access to one? How much of work is that per ship?
We're dialing that in right now, and we're trying to come up with a fair number, and fair is very subjective.
Yeah.
But it will be some number that spans 3 featured TFOs.
Okay.
And quite frankly, depending on the response, if players like it, if everybody's having fun with it, we will find a way to review sort of the effort that was involved to earn that ship, and we'll talk about whether or not the progress toward that ship should be rolled out over more events or more activities in the game. But just to sort of pilot program this,
Yeah.
we are earmarking the next 3 TFOs starting in April with Riposte.
With copy pasta.
We're going to roll it out there, you know, knock on wood, but all the tech's coming along well, and you'll be able to start accruing points toward a ship in April.
That's awesome. Yeah, we put it in June because the tech is coming along, but yeah, the plan is started up in April. So what was the design process behind that thought? You know, what made us jump to the idea of, well, let's let players earn these C-Store ships as well?
A couple of things. One, it's, you know, when we ask a lot. We ask a lot of participation and engagement in the events to win the prizes that we've been creating, and a lot of that is just to help, you know, support the efforts to build the rewards. But, you know, I understand that somebody may not look at Beacon of Kalis, or they may not look at the crystal, the prism we did. They may not look at Lorca's jacket. Like, not every prize is necessarily going to be that appealing to everybody, but we know that people love ships.
Yeah.
If you don't love ships, I don't know why you're playing this game. But so this was a way to make sure that, like, when your friends, when other people are being funneled into event play, everybody's play can be meaningful and you can extract some value out of it, even if the short-term prize attached to the event is not something that you respond to.
Have we decided whether these ships are going to be account or character unlock?
We want them to be account.
Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
It's like I don't want to be stingy. It's I don't know if there's any tech limitations on that. I would think not, but
Well, because C-store ships generally are account unlocked.
yeah.
it
So
shouldn't
like
be.
we do not want to change the behavior of like a ship that you purchase versus earn through play. We want to have the same attributes and accessibility.
Cool. Awesome. And then, of course, First Contact Day is coming up later in that month. We'll have more about that at the end of this week. Did you get the song booked again?
It's in.
Good.
Yeah.
We had a discussion about that.
Have you talked about rewards yet?
I haven't, no.
Okay.
I probably should just
Okay.
tease it now, but I'll let you guys get excited on Friday.
We'll just find a good screenshot to say it all.
I've done that already. I'll show you when we get back to my desk.
All right.
I'm very excited about it. All right, so May's the big one. Rise of Discovery hits. That's our next, after Age and Mirror, next big jump down the line.
Yeah, I'll
yeah.
try to stop calling it Season 17. But for longtime players, you can do the math. You know that's where we are. But like in the expansion over time theme, Rise of Discovery is the next installment.
Yeah.
One of the things, in addition to new storytelling, we've got a fantastic story, as we've alluded to. We are rolling out, and this might actually happen sooner, but we're rolling out. Some of you have probably already noticed through some of the ships we've launched that they scale with you now. So one of the things we found was Discovery being on television for season 1, and now we're a good chunk through 2. It's bringing a lot of new players to Stowe. It's bringing in a lot of people who are just like, hey, what's this thing? I didn't know there was a game, whatever. And it's interesting because so much of our coolest stuff had been reserved for endgame players, which, when upon further investigation, wasn't really necessary, because with our scaling tech, our rewards, our enemies, our teams, with the scaling we have, there was no reason to say, well, why can't somebody who just played the tutorial and a couple of missions, why can't they play in the event? Why can't they get into sort of a peek at endgame early?
Yeah.
So we made the decision to we did it as a test with a couple of ships, and the response was great, and the idea that you could become attached to a ship that you wouldn't outgrow.
Yeah.
And in some ways we've made a lot of the T1 through 4, arguably 5 stuff far less relevant than it's ever been, but some of that stuff's really old, and a lot of our new designs and a lot of our remasters and updates are of the T6 variety.
Yeah.
So getting people aspirationally into the ships they know and love, and what brought them into the game in the first place for all levels. The other thing too, not just for new players, but when you're rolling alts, to be able to jump into something that you're familiar with, that you like, and just sort of be part of that ship's progression as your character progresses, it just felt like low-hanging fruit. It felt like a win-win.
Yeah. So basically, what we're doing is we're taking what is currently Tier 6 and just making Tier 6 scaling ships.
Across the board.
Yeah.
Like
across the
right
board.
now it's a small handful, but very soon it'll be every T6 in the store.
Yeah. So if you want to buy a lower, one of the earlier ships, you can still buy Tier 1 through 5. But then
Yep.
any Tier 6 you buy or get through a lockbox or a Phoenix box or anything like that will then become a scaling ship that you can, if it's an account unlock, you can send it to one of your newbie players, and they can start playing it from the beginning and stuff like that.
And as part of that, on the other side of this task, we'll probably start looking at pricing and things like that for the T1 through 5s, just so we can get a better sense of, there's some cool consoles and there's other things on those ships that people like, but obviously a scalable T6 is going to be desirable to a lot of players, so
Yeah.
we want to be reasonable about how some of that older stuff is made available.
Yeah, for sure. All right. And then Peril Over Pavo comes to console. You all get to enjoy that then. And let's move on to June. That's a real interesting teaser image we got there.
Yeah, look at
That's real pretty, isn't it? Last roadmap we did, that was a screenshot from the show. It doesn't look like a screenshot from the show anymore.
Oh,
No, it looks like somebody may have put a lot of work into that.
that sure does. So I sort of cheated. In talking, I sort of cheated ahead to this.
Yeah, you jumped to this.
And
but
this
that's okay.
is the earn the Zen ships by playing events. And like I mentioned, it'll be limited to featured TFOs. And as we sort of get the response from everybody, and
Yeah.
if all you guys like this and you think it's sort of fun to be able to earn these ships through another method, we will absolutely sort of take the learnings from this limited multi-TFO event to be able to earn these ships, and we'll find a way to see how it will make sense to do it, attach it to other events and do it in perpetuity.
Yeah. So talking a little bit about this ship, because originally on the last schedule it was actually for this month, which got replaced by the Mirror Crossfield. Just to mention quickly, a lot of people have been asking, why it got pushed out. There's a couple of reasons for that. Number one is we want to make sure we've seen everything this ship can do, and season 2 hasn't ended yet, and we don't think we've seen the last of this beautiful, beautiful ship. And two, there's another ship that Discovery is updating that we got teased a little bit this season. That's a classic Star Trek ship that we want to make sure we get a crack at before we start releasing these bad boys. So
starts with a D.
Starts with a D, ends with a 7. We're terrible. My rules used to be we don't talk about upcoming content, and then when when Andre signed up, my rule became, why don't we talk about upcoming content?
I think it's the most fun I can have, and it actually helps to hold myself and the team accountable for doing the things we're telling you. So it was a bonus to that.
Yeah.
But like in terms of the Enterprise D7, a lot of the work on these ships is done. We're admiring them in-house right now. But as Mike mentioned, I didn't call you by your fancy.
That's okay. That's all right. There's actually one time that Al saw me out in public and was going like, Cal! And I did not respond. It took him a second to remember my real name.
And truth be told, like both of these ships, they could have been readied to go now, but we are getting so close to the end of season 2. We want to see if there's any last second surprises they sneak in, because with so many ships in the game, we want to make sure that each one captures both the broad strokes and the nuances of the ships. And if they decide to edit a shot at the last second and say now the D7 can do this, or the Enterprise does that, or any ship, by us stalling just a little bit to learn every element it can do, we can deliver the most authentic version of that ship.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's coming.
Wildly on topic. Did you watch this week's Discovery? Did you see it with everybody on Monday when I wasn't here? Because I just watched it like an hour ago, and oh my God.
I am halfway through the episode before, so
okay.
I skipped our team viewing because I didn't want to.
All right, I won't spoil anything for you.
I like, oh my God.
Yeah, no, the last couple of episodes this season was pretty good quality-wise anyway, and then I feel like the last 2 or 3 episodes have just been like, let's just do this.
No, I think it's the feedback that we've heard, and so sort of my take on it isn't that different than a lot of the feedback that the show's gotten. It's like first show was very dark, very serial, very serious. I think they've tried with season 2 so far. They've tried to inject some classic Trek themes and just make it feel, a little more accessible, not make everybody sort of dislike each other, and I think they're making some nice strides in that area. I think so too.
Yeah.
It's more fun to watch, even though there's little doubt that the production values and the execution of season 1, it's a film.
Yeah.
But it's dark and it's hard to like people, and I think they're trying to get a little more back to the
Trek.
roots.
Yeah, I agree. TPT Stud 01 says Section 31 ship coming. Now, we don't talk about upcoming ship releases on this show. So, Andre, blink twice if the Section 31 ship is coming.
I've seen it. I can't.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm the worst at just sort of saying, I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe it makes sense. Yeah. That's why I like having you on the show, because I can't get in trouble if you spoil something.
It's coming. And it actually falls into that same bucket. If we were certain that we saw everything that it could do, it would already be in your hands.
There was a thing in the episode you haven't watched yet that we'd never seen it do before. That was like, oh crap, I want to make sure Jet knows about that.
Right, and so I would ask that: would players, would you want something early and incomplete, or just a hint later with our best, most current knowledge of everything it can do? And right now we're leaning toward the latter for that.
Yeah. Cool. All right. So last month we don't have much to say about because you all kind of know much about it already. It's the summer event, the Ryzian. We spelled it Ryzen in the first version of the roadmap. That was our bad. The Ryzian Lolnot Festival. I hope that's how you say that. I've never been able to pronounce that word. Lol, not.
That just looks like we've made it hard on ourselves.
I think that was actually from TNG. I think they did that to us. But yeah, the one thing we announced is the T6 Rising Corvette is coming. More details about that soon, but I've seen a lot of fun speculation from the fans. You're right about some things. There'll be new rewards for that. I've heard Thomas bandying about some ideas that are really interesting. So we'll see where that goes. But the interesting thing about events is that we've been talking about, look at that segue. I just segued right in there. We've been talking about maybe adding a new one.
Yeah, it's like you weren't going to be able to stop me there anyway.
No, I know.
Like, I'm looking at just the festival, and I'm going, well, there's another festival that we're working on. Like, so we are in the early planning stages, so a percentage of what I say may not come true, or at least on the date that we say that it's going to. But we have broken ground on planning out a Halloween event. And, we want to do something like, I've been told we've not really added a new event type of summer, winter, Omega anniversary scale in a long time, and that these things have sort of evolved over many years, and that obviously predates me. But we want to roll out, for starters, we want to roll out a fall event, which will be Halloween themed. And at minimum, it'll be a TFO. But we don't want to stop there. We actually think to capture the spirit of Halloween, we actually want to build a social space around it. And we'll have mini games and different types of things and costumes. And we want to do it right. Like when we talked about it, now it will most certainly have room to grow. Yeah. But we want to show up with a pretty proud offering. And one of the influential sort of content motivators, and this could change, but like it was Cat's Eye TOS episode. Yeah. So very heavily inspired by that, and we'll see sort of like how that inspiration and the team's vision, what kind of cool thing we'll bring to life. Yeah. And we don't know what the rewards are yet, but rest assured that it will be thematically appropriate. But we're talking about everything from sort of your haunted castle with Davidians to, who knows, we'll get some werewolves, zombies, mummies walking around, I don't know. But like, we want to do something really fun and special and kick off like a really cool social event. Yeah, and I think the fun thing for me about this is that I've heard Jesse talking about it for years, so to finally get the chance to turn him loose on something like that. Jesse, for those of you who don't know, created the original Bonniekin episode, not to mention the terrifying episode we had in Victory's Life. That's name I've forgotten right now because it's in Latin, so I think that's going to be really, really exciting. And Bonnikins, that's the Hearts and Minds. No, Bonnikin is the Davidian episode you play. It was the first time we had voiced mini contacts, and so of course we chose to debut those with a freaky episode where a crazy computer's talking to you. The Hearts and Minds is the one we run every Halloween, which is fun, but maybe showing its age a little bit. Yeah. And even though, it's like there are people that still like it and whatnot, and it doesn't necessarily need to go away, and maybe that's a candidate for remaster, but this will be a ground-up imagining. And like I said, we just broke ground. We're going to have our concept team just start sort of building out possibilities for this, and then we'll start seeing how much we can roll out with this year's first rollout. That's cool. All right, so we wanted to come on here and talk about not just the roadmap as we've offered, but maybe tease a few more things because, as we mentioned, otherwise I'd have to duct tape your mouth. Is there anything else coming up on the list? I know we talked about with scaling, if you had a account unlock ship, you'd be able to gift it to one of your own alts to get started. But what if you're a brand new player and one of your friends just started the game? So part of the event the meta event for featured TFOs you'd be earning ship tokens. Ultimately, we have a tech in the game that was introduced by Neverwinter. It's basically the unfancy name for this. Is that a word, unfancy? Unfancy? Non-fancy? I think so. It's coupon. Yeah. And basically, you will earn ship tokens that can be traded in for a coupon to get your choice of ship. And by the time that gets in the game, it'll be named, trilithium paper cutout. It won't be a coupon. It'll function as a coupon. And then, so the other thing, by building this tech into Stowe, we've now been able to sort of break ground on another feature, which would be gifting. So a lot of players have asked over the years, like, how can I get a friend in, or how can I, I want to play with my spouse, my significant other, whatever. Like, how can I gift? And it's something we haven't had. And this coupon tech that we've implemented for the Meta event will also roll out this year into the form of a purchasable coupon that you'll be able to gift ships to your friends. And then depending on how well sort of that goes, I mean, we can apply that to other store items and other things. But I think just to keep it clean, we'll start with ships.
Yeah.
And but there'd be nothing to stop us from going beyond that.
Yeah, and so if your new buddy is about to start the game, but they're a huge TNG fan, you can just be like, "Oh, I'll just buy a Galaxy, get a coupon for a Galaxy class, and throw it their way, and they can start with their favorite ship,
Absolutely,
and have it scale with them throughout the whole game."
Yeah, I mean, it's like when you think about those two things together, like when you're able to give somebody a ship and that ship's now going to scale with them, that's a very, very different experience than the sort of boats that you're flying through early progression. And so, one of the things I noticed when I came on to the team was that, I was playing through my first main character, post free to play.
Yeah.
And I noticed that, when I was playing at home, I felt like I was in my element, and I felt I was competitive. But then I'd come to the office and I'd see everybody in our play tests and stuff with their kitted out ships.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I want that.
And then Keith
experience.
would make fun of you for how much your ship sucks.
Absolutely. and I saw, I'm like, holy shit, can I swear?
Yeah, I guess you can.
I'm sorry. Sorry, kids. But that's how excited I was. Like, when I saw play tests of high-end content with high-end ships, I'm like, let's put that in people's hands. And so now, granted, all these ships will have, the T6s will have progression built in, so it won't be as good or as flashy as it will be by the time you've leveled it up. But you get a very good taste and a very good aspirational ride through that ship's progression.
Yeah.
So,
and a lot of the Star Trek story, for those people who are really into playing the story of a Star Trek character, I know there's some famous examples of Picard had the Stargazer before the Enterprise and things like that, but the most of a Star Trek series is you stay with the same ship. The ship is a character, and so I think making that the same ship an integral part of your experience, rather than every 2 or 3 levels you're going to get yourself a new ship and try something new, I think really helps codify and make that a consistent and fun experience for new players.
well, I mean, think about we're enjoying our 9th anniversary right now, and we're hoping for 9 more. I mean, but in the spirit of that, any sort of MMO, it evolves. It evolves with the desires of your fans. It desires with the tastes of the development team, with constraints. There are many influences and factors that affect what the game becomes. And I think in the case of Stowe, the things we're doing with the scalable T6, the way you'll be able to earn them, these are all new concepts. And when you think about the journey the game's been on, it may not make that much sense for somebody who knows that somebody who loves Trek that wants to go through the captain experience. It may not make sense for them to say, look, I'm going to take a ship that I don't care about, a tier 1, then I'm going to buy a 2, then I'm going to buy a 3. And the way I've heard about the amount of XP that was gained in years past. Yeah. We've made it very clean and straightforward to get to endgame. I mean, for the most part, you play an episode, you get a level.
Yeah.
So for me, I try to put myself in the player's mindset and say, well, if I'm going to be able to sort of out-level this tier 2 ship in 10 missions, which if I do in one sitting, that doesn't feel great to me.
Yeah.
So by having a ship I can invest in and sort of grow with, and then when I get to endgame, then I can start thinking about whether I want to be flying pilot ships and the different sort of agency, utility, and seating between the different types, as opposed to just flying something that feels fun through your progression.
Yeah, that's cool. So I had a question here from Horient that I liked that I wanted to pass on to you. Of course, it's gone away. So one of the things that's been interesting about STO's past in the story world, and has kind of been, we've been pretty laser focused on discovery as we build this expansion over time. As we come out of Rise of Discovery and into the next bits and things down the line, do you think we'll move towards having, like we did with Agents of Yesterday. It's all about TOS, but also here's some Enterprise stuff. Or Victory's Life has some TNG stuff thrown in, stuff like that. Do you think we'll start blending the Star Treks again?
I absolutely do. Physical date TBD, but it's been on our radar from the beginning. But again, and I keep going back to this phrase, but like Discovery being an expansion over time, it's probably felt like we're getting a lot of Discovery, and you are, and that's because it's over time. But ultimately, it's not been a secret that there's a ton of things happening in the CBS world with an animated show, a Giorgio Section 31 thing.
There's that Picard
what's
show.
Janlock. Picard,
No, Genlock's on a different network.
So we've got Picard. We've got all kinds of Trek, and like obviously CBS is in a great place with the brand. They're tripling down. They're going to be doing a lot of things, and we, as creators, as developers, we get motivated by doing different things too. So we want to fulfill sort of the full Discovery arc, and I think we're getting close to sort of like the bare minimum of what that means in terms of episodes and TFOs and just the experience in general. And we're absolutely starting to investigate what would it look like to do something with Picard or Section 31 or whatever. But we want to get back to ultimately to Trek as a whole. And it just happens to be right now there's such a demand, and the show's doing really well. It made the most sense for us to sort of lean into it and build an era of Trek that we didn't have. Yeah. So, this will ultimately, when you forecast forward, Discovery era will just be another place that we could invest in. Whether we're doing something in TNG, whether we're doing something in Victory is Life themed, whatever with Jem'Hadar stuff or whatever. Like we're not handcuffed to anything. And I read some stuff. It's like some player posts where they said, well, they're probably just doing this because CBS is forcing them or whatever. The truth is, like our relationship isn't you will do this.
Yeah.
There's been an enormous amount of credibility that's been earned by Cryptic with CBS over the years. So they might encourage us to do something for reasons of synergy between, like, why not build an aspect of the game that doesn't exist while we're doing a high budget TV show, right? So it all made sense, but they don't try to dictate, sort of like where we put our efforts.
Where we go, yeah.
So that was the very long version of the answer, but we ultimately will be going all over the place. We're gonna go all over.
Yeah, cool. All right, so there's a couple of questions that came up about that I think actually segues into something you wanted to talk about, because somebody was asking about being able to move around the Kabali arc, for example, in later on instead of having to play everything. And you wanted to talk a little bit about some changes we might make to the journal, right?
Well, a couple of things I think are exciting. I mean, a while ago we talked about how we wanted players who reached Endgame for all their future characters. We wanted them to be able to say, look, it's like, I found this particular story arc very interesting. It's like whether you want to play the Klingon arc or New Romulan, like whatever you wanted to play, like it was a very linear experience. And, if your favorite mission episode was 40 deep, you either had to click through or play 40 missions. And it just felt like, for a game that's very organic and interesting in its storytelling, like to force players that have played all the way through down a linear path just didn't make sense. So going live very soon will be a feature we talked about, which will allow a player's alt to start at the beginning of any of the arcs in the game. Yeah. So, and you'll notice, if you haven't already, you'll notice when you start playing those arcs, there may be some missions that have been removed. Rest assured that those aren't all going away forever. These were just candidates due to bugs or uglies or whatever that they've been sort of put into.
They've been put in their own personal space seed and sent off into space.
Yeah, so like you might see that these journals will grow. The actual chapters within the journals will grow over time, and we'll obviously keep everybody abreast of that. But it will be super exciting for anybody to play the stuff they really want to play.
Yeah. And we've actually made some pretty cool changes to one of the arcs coming up pretty soon.
A couple of
them, yeah.
But on that last point, I'm going to throw out another.
Throw something out.
Story.
Sure.
Like not just like you were talking about Kabali or whatever, right?
Yeah.
People have been playing we've been doing a lot of events with featured TFOs, and we've been talking about how we can extend the concept of certain events and whatnot. So we are talking right now about adding certain elements to episodes to create sort of like interesting events and stories around it. We're also looking at battle zones and adventure zones and taking a look at how we might be able to create interesting events from within those things. So we don't want everything to feel like, oh, that was made 3 years or 5 years ago, so that's what it is. We want to take, to the best of our ability, we want to refresh things. Yeah. So I guess my point is more that you're seeing a lot of featured TFOs, and we've gotten good feedback, and the random system is helping people accomplish their reps, so we're feeling good about that. But we also, over time, we want to start mixing up what is event activity. Yeah. So it isn't always just a group play TFO. It might be at the solo level in a mission, or accomplishing objectives in a battle zone.
Cool.
So.
That sounds awesome. But what I was specifically asking about was this thing on the list that we aren't showing.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, no, we've been hard at work, and we've been sort of slipping this stuff in over time. The Romulan arc, we've been redoing the cutscenes because a lot of that stuff was done many, many years ago, and sometimes the storytelling was done by designers and not experienced 3D animators. So you'll see a lot of old cutscenes that might make you sort of go, well, that's a little peculiar. But
it's just a straight shot of this person's face for 10 minutes.
For a long time.
Yeah.
And so now we actually, we've got a world-class, animation focus on our storytelling. So, we've gone back and we're doing the cutscenes for the Romulan arc. And for the first time ever, the entire thing has now been cast, recorded. It is entirely voiced. So it's like all that stuff that was like maybe you get a line of dialogue and then a page of just now read. Yeah. Like you don't have to read anymore. You can listen. But we're excited about that. And just today we were talking about how to celebrate that. Like it's always hard for games that have had sort of a long run to be able to rationalize going back and making something better or different, or just trying to reach parity with what you've learned and the skills that have accrued with a team over time. And I'm very proud for us to be able to find time to go back and do the Romulan stuff to help it reach parity qualitatively. Yeah. And we will likely do something where don't hold me to this just yet. But
too late. You said it out loud. It's confirmed.
One of the things we're talking about is, as we roll this out, players who create a new Romulan character, so don't rush to do it today. Yeah. But like players who create a new Romulan character and reach a certain point in the progression so that you can see all the new stuff we've done, we may also give you a choice of T6 scaling Romulan ship. Yeah. So a huge head start for just sort of going on the journey and celebrating that improvement with us.
Now, before everybody runs and screams about that, I do want to qualify that we decided that this morning, maybe, kind of, in a brainstorming session. Yeah. So it's probably going to happen, but...
Yeah, I mean, it was, we're talking about 11 a.m. Pacific.
Yeah.
And we just wanted to make sure, and we're not 100% there yet, we do know this. A lot of work, a lot of passion went into getting to get the Romulan arc up to parity. And a lot of people are laboring over it. A huge voice cast came in to do it.
Yeah.
We want to roll it out in a way that's meaningful, and we want to celebrate it, and we want to reward people for experiencing it with us. So we'll figure out what makes sense. But rest assured, it's coming, and we're going to do something.
Well, I think the Romulan arc is one of the coolest things we have in the game, and so I really would like to see more people get a chance to see it. I mean, I understand why most people jump straight to Federation, because there's really never been a Star Trek show that isn't about the Federation. But Yeah, I think there's some really interesting Klingon, Romulan, and Dominion content that I would love to see more people get the light of day.
Indeed, and there's lots of details like Mike mentioned. I called you Mike again.
Yeah, that's fine. You can do that. Let people do that on the show. It says it right there.
Okay.
Like it's my name. Yeah.
Good point. But like I said, ultimately, it's like we're proud that we found the bandwidth to be able to do this while we're also doing our current Rise of Discovery work, and it's going to be exciting to roll that out.
Yeah, that's cool. All right, so that is most of what you wanted to talk about, and I think that's all some really cool stuff. I know there's a couple other things on the list that are, some really quick quality of life stuff if you want to shoot them off.
Sure, like we're working on a design right now. I know one of the things that I find super annoying is anytime the game has what should be a cool, fun sort of environmental hazard situation, like outfitting your entire away team in EV suits. I'm just sort of like, oh, do I really have to do that?
Mm-hmm.
And
they often have worse stats than your armor, so it's just like, ugh.
So we've done the back end tech, and we still need to do some front end stuff. Don't worry about what that means. But long story short, we are working on a dedicated EV suit slot to where everybody in your all your buffs, your away team, you'll have that to where environmentally it'll automatically switch depending on the circumstances.
Oh, so if you go there, it'll switch automatically instead of clicking a button. Oh, that's cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so you don't have to slot things in and out, and it'll be based on sort of the damage that's in the area. But I think what it'll do is there is really some cool opportunity with environments, and I think if we take away this pain point, I think we can actually lean into it more than have it be this thing that we're sort of hesitant about.
Yeah, well, because I remember with the mission we added in Victory is Light, I think that is Tenebrous again. It was like, okay, but we've got to add this dialogue scene in this box at the front of the mission to make sure you have EV suits and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's just, that sounds like a lot more fun.
We just don't want that to be work.
Yeah.
The player experience, the journey through that should be like, I slot a bunch of stuff, I go into the level, and it automatically does what I need it to do, and then when I leave, it undoes it.
Yeah.
And another thing we're working on too, I don't know how many people find this annoying. I know I do. When you're, I don't know if ground's an issue, but certainly in space.
Yeah.
When you look out at the horizon of sorts, even though there's not really a horizon in space, but like as you look out at the field, if you look out at blank space, you will see tags on everything. And it's usually either enemy or ally. And there are mission objectives. There are TFO objectives. Some of them are mandatory, some of them are optional. And it'll say, defend this, interact with this,
Kill
whatever.
the specific enemy, yeah.
And you don't know, so you're flying around blind because things are either enemy or ally. And they wouldn't sort of transition into their proper name until you're within a certain distance from them. It sounds like a small thing, but it's actually a much better play experience. We've gotten rid of all that to where now everything out there just has its proper name.
That's awesome.
And it sounds like a little thing, and technically it is a small thing, but the quality of the experience is so much better when you're given objectives and things have names.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of stuff that we have been doing and are continuing to do. That's that kind of stuff. It's we'll take the little pain points in the game and move them as we streamline the game more and more to make it a better play experience. And I really like that. That's been a lot of our focus lately.
Well, and we have a very we have a very agile team. It's like whenever we see an opportunity that somebody has extra cycles to sort of attack, we jump all over this stuff. Like one of the things I don't know that we've ever mentioned is that when I was leveling my first character, I felt that many of the waypoints and NPCs and things that I needed to talk to, there was sort of strange sorting issues in the mini-map. So somebody I had to talk to might be buried beneath a cluster of other iconography and stuff. And so we went through a while ago, we went through a simple prioritization scheme where like the player would always be on top, allies would be next, quest givers and turn-ins and objectives would be below that, to where the thing you want to do is always prioritized, to where in the past, these things were a little bit all over the place.
Yeah.
And now, again, it might seem like a very small thing, but if it helps you get something done and go to the right place and not spend time sort of, you're spending more time playing than wandering.
Yeah.
It just feels like a better use of your play session.
Speaking of the minimap, did you want to talk? We were talking about a minimap update that I think Travis had just finished a couple of weeks ago. Did you want to tease that now, or do we want to leave that and
Are you talking about the?
Mm-hmm,
Oh, I didn't know if we were done yet. Look at that. This guy's got latest info. One of the things
that you were the one who told me that was almost done. So
well, it needs some love, so it doesn't have a release date. But one of the things we want to do, again, falling into that sort of category of simple but very useful, as with random queues, with random TFOs, we are routing a lot of endgame play through that content, and also as we're doing events and things like that and featured TFOs, we're getting players anywhere from say level 10 or 11, 11 all the way through 65, and not everybody's familiar with the mechanics and things like that. Yeah. So we are instituting, it still needs some work, but we're instituting a mini map ping system, which not unlike anybody who's played like World of Warcraft, and we can use the map ping system to help without chat, without typing, without voice chat. We can ping. You'll be able to ping the map to at least minimally when we roll this out to direct people's attention to where if you want to focus DPS on one thing, if you want to protect a thing. There are newer players coming in. There are also players who are super casual that don't always understand how to accomplish objectives. They just kind of shoot stuff.
Don't attack that.
So, it's gonna go through some iteration, and we're gonna have to get it right because we don't want the map to be full of ping spam. But very much like World of Warcraft, the ability to click the map and sort of use that as a nonverbal tool to help direct play behaviors and teach people about what to do. So there's lots of stuff like that, anywhere from sort of 5 to 80% done, and we'll be rolling those out. We won't necessarily wait for any release to get those out there. As soon as they're ready and tested and they feel like they improve the game, we'll let everybody know and they'll just start showing up.
Cool. All right, well, that is the list, and that is our hour and the roadmap. So I should let you get back to work. I should go put up the patch notes. But thank you very much for joining me. I hope you had fun.
I do. I love this.
I hope you guys had fun, too. We'll have more info on a lot of this stuff coming soon. Like I said, wait a couple of days and you get some first contact info. That's the first nugget we'll have coming your way. So until next week, we'll see you soon. Bye-bye, everyone. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.